You know, every once in a while, watching some of the propagandists on the left, it really does feel like you're spying on some sort of wildlife webcam, right? Or even like you're going to the zoo. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I mean that in the nicest possible way. But these people, man, they are firmly entrenched in some strange bubble that just, it's not from this world, man. It is not of this world. And I'm going to prove it to you. This is a very, very, very brave Van Jones on his way to speak to some white Republicans. And he's not sure if he's even going to live to see tomorrow.
The Sumner County Constitutional Republicans. Who are they?
They ran as a slate for county commission.
We advocate for, God-fearing, constitutional, conservative Christian values, right?
And their mission is to restore the county to Judeo-Christian values and follow the Constitution literally.
I have sources who are very solid, moderate Republicans who are appalled at what they see happening.
They're illustrative of what happens when you have one-party system, when you have a one-party state.
So these are hard right groups. I mean, this is not just conservative.
It's not conservative. It's not anything I would call Republican.
I mean, so far, they paint a pretty compelling picture, man, of a really, really terrifying and incredibly backwards place where people have chosen their state and local representatives according to their own beliefs and values. I mean, and the even worse thing, I mean, the values are Judeo-Christian values. I mean, that is scary. But even scarier than that, guys, it is single party rule. And this can never work. This can never work. I mean, these people, man, these are not serious people. They are truly crazy. And I want to know how many of them are from or live in California. I know that Van Jones is from California. And, truth be told, he's actually been a shining light in California. A lot of criminal justice reform good he's done. But, I mean, you'd think when the table starts talking about their shock and their horror at single party rule, that it would at least click. You'd think he would speak up. But you know what? I mean, as I say, California, and maybe they're right. Maybe single party rule. Obviously, California shows that single party rule, it cannot actually work. But this is going to be fun to watch. If this is your first time here, guys, please be a part of our growth. This is going to be a very, very important year for conservatives and a really, really difficult year to get conservative voices heard through all this noise. So help the cause, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. It really, really, really does mean a lot.
I have a lot of trepidation because, as best I can tell, the direction they're trying to go in is not one I think is healthy. Hopefully we'll find some nice people.
A couple things with his foreshadowing. He claims to have worked to change a party's direction. And I'm curious to know, I want to know if Van is responsible for the current direction of Democrats. I want to know if he's happy, or I want to know if he is absolutely horrified, because it's interesting to see the real fear on his face. He's got real trepidation in his voice, man. I'll remind you, Van is not exactly known for his composure. I mean, the man, he says what he means.
Well, it's easier to be a parent this morning. It's easier to be a dad. It's easier to tell your kids character matters. It matters. Telling the truth matters. Being a good person matters. And it's easier for a whole lot of people. If you're Muslim in this country, you don't have to worry if the president doesn't want you here. If you're an immigrant, you don't have to worry if the president's going to be happier to have babies snatched away or send dreamers back for no reason. This is vindication for a lot of people who have really suffered. I can't breathe. That wasn't just George Floyd. That was a lot of people that felt that they couldn't breathe. Every day you're waking up and you're getting these tweets and you just don't know, and you're going to the store and people who have been afraid to show their racism are getting nastier and nastier to you, and you're worried about your kids and you're worried about your sister. And can she just go to Walmart and get back into her car without somebody saying something to her? And you spent so much of your life energy just trying to hold it together. And this is a big deal for us just to be able to get some peace and have a chance for a reset. And the character of the country matters. And being a good man matters. I just want my sons to look at this. Look at this. It's easy to do it the cheap way and get away with stuff, but it comes back around.
I mean, the funny part is I believe him, man. I believe him when he says that he is fearful of the Christian direction that these people are going. And he's hopeful that he meets some real nice Christians, which honestly just shows you, man, how they really feel about faithful people from inside the bubble.
First question I wanted to ask is, why did you agree to talk to me?
Well, I almost didn't. It was a kind of a coin flip here, right? So if I'm being honest, you're going to come here and you're going to tell the story that you're going to tell. And so I might as well tell the story that I'm going to tell.
How the heck did you wind up becoming a political figure? For me, it was Rodney King. That was my big moment.
I want to talk to you about the resistance and what we are doing, at least in Northern California, that seems to be working.
You mentioned 2020. I think COVID was maybe a big turning point for a lot of people, including you.
COVID, the presidential election, social unrest, you look up and you're like, the people in charge clearly are not worthy. I'm a Republican. Heard the term fascist thrown around when it comes to Republican, but I mean, good grief. To me, it's pretty fascist to tell people they have to take an injection.
You felt like the government was overstepping.
Oh, it was. I mean, that's not a feeling. That was a fact.
So government's overstepping, so you needed to step up.
The truth of the matter was it wasn't that noble. I started in my house with some friends. We kind of networked together, and I think we were deciding like who we're going to take out, who are we going to run against, forced to listen to us. People put a gun to my head and said, we're going to take your job if you don't comply. And I was going to get fired over it. Taking a vaccine, and I listened. I got the message. So now we're going to threaten these politicians' jobs. And now they listen.
So you challenge existing incumbent Republicans.
I mean, what a concept, man. And obviously this guy is a clear extremist. He says, I feel threatened by their policies. They threaten my job, my livelihood, my family. So I thought it was fair that I come for their job. I mean, how fair and reasonable is that? I mean, the left thinks that this guy and everyone like him, you, me, everyone like this guy, they think is an extremist. They think that this guy is a danger to democracy. And I would say when I listen to this, man, this is democracy. And it's probably its most pure form.
And you get 14 seats.
Yep.
Why did you feel, as Republicans, you need to challenge other people who are also pretty much already Republican?
You claim to stand for individual liberties, but you're not standing against the government overreach. You're either actively participating in it or you are acquiescing to it. In either case, you got to go.
Gotcha. Well, look, I spent a lot of time trying to move my party more in a direction that I believed in. And so I respect you guys because it's tough. I mean, it wasn't until 2016 that the Democratic Party had any criminal justice plan at all.
Well, you did some work on this, right? But
Absolutely.
It was with President Trump. The First
Step Act.
There's nothing more important than freedom. So thank you, sir.
Well done, man. This guy is prepared. And Van brought it up. Van opened that door. He tries to claim some sort of Democrat responsibility in criminal justice reform. But this guy, Matt, he says, you did some good work on this. You did great work. But just remember, you did that work with President Trump. And kudos to CNN for actually showing him there in the room. And that was an important moment. And that was a big deal. It was great that he was there. But what you won't see in that room are any of the other Democrats, even any of the Democrats that sponsored and signed that bill and voted for that bill. That really was a true bipartisan accomplishment. But none of them cared enough to actually acknowledge it or even really talk about it. Thankfully, they cared enough to get it done. They did get it done, so that's good. But they didn't want to be a part of any perceived Trump success. So kudos again to Van. He was the only person in that room who even thought they might be a Democrat. He's the only one to show up. Obviously, still a ton of work to do. Biden's crime bill still continues to separate lots and lots of poor families.
I'm a big supporter of that, by
Good.
the way.
I appreciate that.
I may not believe it, but I grew up poor, so I believe in criminal justice reform. So when 6 or 7 kids that I grew up with, 3 of them didn't make it to 40. 1 of them died in police custody. And now the cynical side of me looks at that and says, why didn't they get any attention? I think that these rural areas got totally forgotten.
I like that, man. Notice our friend Matt, the extremist here, he talks about criminal justice reform, not through the bogus lens of race, like it's always talked about, but through the lens that I think it actually should be viewed through economics, through class. Crime is not about color. It is largely about means. And he's right. These poor, rural, mostly white communities that have the very, very same problems as forgotten inner cities proves that. It really does prove that. Nothing about this guy seems extreme. Nothing about this conversation, nothing about any of this seems extreme or dangerous. So what do you think our friend Van, what do you think his takeaway is going to be?
I was all prepared to have a big conflict, given everything I'd heard about the movement he represents. He's conservative, but he's not a clown. He's a great guy. Seems like a great guy. He felt like the system wasn't serving him. He stood up and fought back. I mean, that's what democracy's supposed to be all about. I think there's something really going wrong here where I don't see a lot of difference between an Odessa, the two Justins, or Mr. Schoaf. This story just got a lot more complicated.
Yeah, man. I mean, there really is something very, very wrong here, but no, it's not complicated. I don't think there's anything complicated about it, because the truth is, and all reasonable people know this, we're not different, man. We all want the same things. We all want freedom. We all want safety. And those things are only made possible by fair representation. And literally everything comes from the confluence of those things. Those are the things that allow our families to grow, our families to prosper, and allow us to live. That's simple. And this is all people want. What we want is not dependent on race. It's not dependent on this party affiliation or that, party affiliation. The left always wants to talk about societal constructs or constructs of the mind, whatever they want to talk about. And Van acknowledges, something is wrong here, but he can't figure it out. Well, I got news for you. When you're sitting at a poker table and you can't pick out who the donkey is, then you're it, man. It's the same thing here. Van cannot put his finger on what's wrong here because he's it. Him and every propagandist just like him. They are the problem. But that's just my take, guys. I thought you'd appreciate seeing that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And guys, if you haven't already, be a part of our growth. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.